Ladies and gentlemen, a good afternoon to you outside there. Welcome to Around the Game, the podcast where we dive into the stories behind the athletes and the sports we love. Today we're exploring the journey to success in sports. What drives athletes to push themselves to the limits? How do they overcome obstacles and achieve greatness? Join us as we sit down with Albert Aciku today. He's a coach and an expert, and he's going to discuss the triumphs, setbacks, and lessons he learned on the path to success. Let's get started. Albert, you're very, very welcome. First of all, say something to the viewers outside there.
It's an honor for me to be here. I don't know why it took you this long to get me here, but ultimately I'm here, and I'm glad to be here, and I'm looking forward to sharing my story about the sport we all love, so I'm excited.
I mean, I honestly respect you. I watched you play the game, and I learned a lot from you. And sitting down with you today is an honor. Yeah. So, let's dive into it. Albert, what made you fall in love with sports, and how did the journey begin?
It's interesting you asked that question. You know, growing up during our time, we're all soccer people. We're all soccer. I remember my dad would buy me a football, and actually me and my siblings would buy us a football each, and we all used to play soccer. And when Lincoln, which is ISU now, used to be at Kitante area.
Yeah.
They had a pitch at the back end, so we used to play soccer from there. But they also had a basketball court in their parking area. So I remember one day we were going back home after playing soccer, and we see this group of guys playing basketball. Yeah. And we stood at the fence and just watched, and we actually found it interesting, so we're like, let's come back and check them out again. So every day we'd go pass by and watch them, would stand at the fence. Yeah. Then a gentleman called Andrew Biekwaso, he came and asked us if we want to play basketball. And of course we're like, we're excited, yes. So he told us, come tomorrow. This was a Friday, so he told us, come back on a Saturday. I don't know if it was 2 p.m., 2 o'clock. We start training at 2, and we trained for the rest of the afternoon. I remember we showed up late, and he sent us back. Oh, that was like we knew this was the time, so he sent us away because we came late. So that was the very first step in us being initiated. Me personally starting to take value of time. Like, I don't know how not to keep time.
Yeah.
So from that time on, even growing up, well, my dad always made sure I was on time for everything. But when it came to sports, me knowing that I have to be on time for whatever I have to do became very key from that point, even going forth for the whole time that I was with Rhino. Yeah. I knew timekeeping was an essential aspect of the club, and they were that organized. So he sent us back, told us, come back tomorrow, and we see how this goes. So we came back the next day, and that was the very beginning of my journey in basketball.
Yeah.
And of course, they were one of the most organized clubs back then. They focused more on teaching the fundamentals of the game, and they had a very good group of people, of coaching staff. Yeah. I think Andrew Biekwaso, and there was another gentleman called Franco Chen, and they would use more of the senior players to coach the younger players. It was a very good setup that Rhino had. Yeah. And of course then they also had an American coach coaching the senior team at that point. Yeah. So there was so much to learn at that point as a young person, and of course you just sitting and watching the senior team, you're always inspired. Yeah. You're inspired. You're like, my God, this guy is doing. I remember Henry Musisi now. Yeah. I don't know who he's working with. I think he owns his own companies now. Yeah. It was interesting seeing those guys perform at a very high level. Joe Burrow, we wanted to be like those guys. So everything we did as a junior team was basically to emulate the senior team and become. That explains the success the team had back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me ask, how old were you when you learned basketball? And were you in primary school or secondary school?
I think I was in my late primary. Yes, I was in my late primary. I think I was in my primary 6. Yeah. I was in my primary 6 when I learned basketball. Then, of course, it was a quick transition from there to Kitante. But still, in the same club, so it was a very good. They were all in the same place, Kitante Hill, the training court, and I lived in the same area.
Yeah.
So
it was a blessing.
So yes, yes.
So from primary you joined Kitante.
Yes.
Yeah, tell us about Kitante. I've heard a lot of stories about Kitante. My Kito, Mike Mukula told me about Kitante. Nick Nola about Kitante. I've talked to Coach Sunday. All Kitante products. Tell me about Kitante. When you were in senior one, how was it?
In senior one, we were like the young kids on the team. I remember there was me, there was Mande Juruni. There was another one, I think, came a year or two later. But of course, Mande was like our senior during Mike for this joining Kitante. But we had people like Aaron Ochamringa. We had Oberu David.
Yeah.
Who else did we have? I keep forgetting. But there were senior players. Stephen Orange.
He was a senior when you were senior one.
Yes, I don't know. I remember he was with my sister. I think the same class with my sister. Yeah. Now those were the seniors of the team. Now us coming in, me, my brother, Buana, Mande, Juruni were like the junior guys on the team. So we look up. So in this one we didn't really play much, but we were good. We were almost ready to perform at a high level. Of course, Mande Juruni was ahead of our group as the junior team. So because he had played a little bit longer than we did. Yeah. So it was amazing. Kitante, for the 6 years I was in Kitante, we won 5 championships.
That was the Sprite.
The Sprite, yes, Sprite, leading to, even I don't think even the first one was called Sprite. It was called something else. It was, I think, won by Smack. Yeah, the times of Masiko, when they had Masiko. Ooh, I remember us watching that tournament and was like, we have to be a part of this. Masiko was amazing. I met him a couple of times, a couple of years ago, but that group, I think that was one of the most competitive high school finals I had ever watched, because Makerere College against SMAC, Makerere College had Humphrey Hakiza. I don't know if his brother was there. They had Paulo Du. They had the level of athleticism those guys had for a high school team was exceptional. Then came SMAC with Masiko and I even don't remember who else was in SMAC, but I remember Masiko was like the Magic Johnson of the time. He was a magician. They were able to beat Makerere College because of that one person. Masiko, with his ball handling skills and finishing. It was exceptional. But from that time on, in fact, that was like an eye-opener for me. Like how you can achieve so much just from competing at playing this game at that level. Those guys, I was inspired by those guys, especially the Makerere College students, because I was close to them, and many of them were Rhino players as well. So, and I think AB was their coach, if I'm not mistaken. So it was still interesting watching those guys. So I was inspired by those guys a lot.
So tell me about you in senior one, just a new student. Of course, you're lucky you learned basketball when you were in primary school. Late primary school. You joined Kitante, and you talked about you being with Mande Jurunis, and there were senior players. How many basketball coaches did you have in Kitante, and who used to train your guys?
Kitante didn't have any basketball court. We used to train at Lincoln, which is now ISU, where the current British High Commission is. So we used to train from there, and we were coached by Tom Ochamringa. Initially, it was our coach, our school teacher. He was called Mr. Mubiru. But later on, I think he brought in Tom, and Tom was our coach then. And as a junior, we didn't play much because we had much senior players who were in there, who were already in A level about that time. So we didn't play much. Maybe Monday did play more than we did, but we were on the trajectory for greatness at that point. So senior one, we didn't play much, but we were able to play. They'd give you a few minutes. But we played. I remember one thing that we used to do at Rhino was run. Would run hills. So we were very athletic. Like we would run, we were ready to compete. But of course, with the senior players, you let them have their shine. I think it was in S2 when we started really, really competing.
Yeah.
At that point, and also something else that really worked to our advantage was there was a trip to the US, and we had many of those senior players go.
Yeah.
Aaron, Oberu, all those guys, they did go.
Yeah.
So they left that vacuum. It was, I can't call it a vacuum because we were like ready, we were burning, we were ready to go.
Yeah, in senior too.
Yes.
Wow.
I mean, like, I think we even won the next championship. So I remember what we did. We attracted students, international students. So we got Justus Mosekei. We had another tall gentleman, the late Peter Elungat.
Yeah.
Was he called Elungat? I think
Peter Elungat, the Falcons player.
Was he? No. It was another guy called Peter. I think I've forgotten his other name.
Yeah.
He was a tall, small guy, and we were actually a small team. I think that's when Buana also came in. We were all small, like we're all about the same average height, apart from Peter, our tall guy. So we used to play around Peter, and Tom did a very good job in getting us to work as a unit.
Yeah.
One thing that we did was shoot the 3-ball. Well, because we're a small team, we shot the 3-ball. I remember we played Manjas in the finals, I think when I was in my senior 4.
Yeah.
We played Manjas in the finals, and Manjas, well, they brought these Kenyan guys who are all above us, towering. The only guy who would match up with them, I remember I had to mark a guy on the post, and I was like at his waist, just with an elbow. But we were able to work so well as a unit. We ran the ball so fast and shot threes. Like, we had transition three-pointers then.
Yeah.
This was what, the late 90s?
Before the Steph Curry.
Yes. Now, sometimes I say some of the things happened even before we are seeing them in the NBA.
Yeah.
Because I remember we'd shoot lots of threes, and we only won that game because we were shooting threes. Because these guys would score anytime, but they could not shoot threes. They were scoring twos, and we were shooting threes.
Yeah.
And that was the difference. That was in my senior 4. But after these guys went to the US, we kept building on that, and we kept winning championship after championship. Our major competitors then was Kavoja. Kavoja had the Nabus.
Yeah.
The Nabus, they had, what is his name? I keep forgetting some of them. But they had a good squad.
Yeah.
They had Ivan.
Garnett.
Yes, yes. They had those foreign players, yes, as well.
Yeah.
But we were too much for those guys. We were too much. Again, that's why I still think learning basketball the right way is always key.
Yeah. So did Tom teach you guys the basics when he came to coach you guys in senior 2?
Yes, Tom was part of Rhine as well.
Yeah.
He was part of Rhine also, and he used to play on the senior team. It was like almost copy and paste. This is how we do this. This is how we do this.
Yeah.
So, because we are very athletic, like if you saw the Charging Rhino play during their time, they were super athletic. They were running the ball all the time.
Yeah.
So it was the same thing we pasted in Kitante. We were running the ball, we were shooting the ball, we were executing at a very, very high level. I think we were ahead of everyone's time in high school basketball at that point.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, tell us about that tournament you participated in when you were in Kitante that is memorable to you.
Yes, there's one that is memorable. My first dunk in a game. I have to admit that hoop wasn't 10 feet.
Yeah.
For sure, it wasn't 10 feet.
Yeah.
Because it was still early. That was, I think, in my senior 3.
Yeah.
We were playing, I think, Kavoja in the finals. One of my players had dunked and the hoop kind of tilted a little bit, slant towards us.
Yeah.
And this was in the finals. So transition, fast break, went up, boom, first dunk ever in a game. But I have to admit again, it wasn't 10 feet.
Yeah.
And I could not even jump and touch 10 feet at the time. No.
So that was the adrenaline and everything.
Yes, of course, and the excitement and all. But that is the one tournament that got me going. I wouldn't even say that tournament. We have to go back to when we started playing basketball, when I was still in my primary 6.
Yeah.
there, Rhino used to organize a tournament, Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah, yeah.
A few months, maybe 2 or 3, into me starting to play basketball, it was December and there's Abraham Lincoln. I was still not very green, but I had the fundamentals locked in, I had everything locked in, and we're playing against Nairobi. Nairobi seemed to be like the more pompous team, and
that was you in senior, in P6.
Yes.
And I remember this was senior team.
Yes. No, we're playing against their junior team. They came with a senior team, but they also got a junior team.
Yeah.
And funny enough, some of their top coaches now were on that junior team.
Like Ronnie Owino.
No, Ronnie Owino was, I think, playing and coaching the senior team.
Yeah.
But some of the junior players, like, there's this guy who got caught up in the bomb in Nairobi. He coached in Nairobi, in Rwanda for a bit.
Is that Ben Oluthe?
Ben.
Yeah.
Ben was on that junior team. They had a couple of players who are now also retired and playing, working as coaches, play on that junior team. We played against those guys and we beat them in the very first Abraham Lincoln that I competed at. Yeah. But the thing about that tournament, we're still new in the game. So you're not sure about certain things, and excitement, adrenaline is going for you. Yeah. We were actually leading the game. So towards, I think it was second half. There were no quarters then. I think the first half was second half.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I remember we were pressing. Oh, we lost the ball. We lost the ball under our basket. So we were pressing so they don't get an inbound pass. Yeah. We did a good job. I think I got the ball and I hooked it into our basket. As I was hooking it, you're hearing everyone say, no! But of course, you're like, it's too late. It's too late. There's a good hoop, basket good. Yeah. No, the other basket.
You're still a kid anyway.
Yes, yeah. But of course now, I think there was a timeout. No, don't forget. But one thing I remember about that game is we played so well aggressively on defense, and we weren't even sure about how we were doing it. Yeah. I don't remember how we were doing it, but I know we were doing things right. Yeah. Apart from that 1 point miss scoring in our own basket. Yeah. But I think that is actually the tournament that flipped things for me. Yeah. Because we knew we won, we were excited, we were just know everyone was praising us at that point. Yeah. But that motivated us to even work harder. Yeah. Because we knew we were going to compete in the same tournament again. Yeah. And continue to get better. So
I mean, before we go any further, I know you grew up back then with traditional parents.
Yes.
School was always to read. I mean, they take you to school just to read, to pass. They wanted you to get a career. How supportive was like mom and dad towards your basketball journey, you and your brother?
Now, my dad passed on when I was in primary 3.
Sorry about that.
May soul rest in peace.
Amen.
But my mom was very supportive, and also, of course, at that point you start working out, your metabolism goes up. Yeah. So I remember my mom one time thought we used to carry bread and take to our friends, but me and my brother used to share the big loaf. Remember that family size of tip-top bread? Yeah. That was the bread then. So my mom used to think we used to carry some and go give our friends, yet we actually used to eat. Me and my brother used to share one, like the family size loaf. Like for one evening tea, she's like, no, where is the rest? Yeah, she actually reached out to Andrew Biekwas. I don't know if it was Andrew Biekwas or someone that, you know what? You guys need to supplement these guys' meals. These guys are eating more than normal kids. And indeed, we had a huge appetite at that point. Yeah. And then, thankfully, one of the top people in the club, Henry Musisi, used to work with Maganjo. Yeah. So Maganjo used to give us some of their products as well. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, my mom was very supportive. Yeah. And I'm glad she was, and she knew till today. She asks me, what basketball activity do you have coming up, you know? So yeah, till today she is. She wants to know that everything is working well for her.
Which is good. Yeah, I think the last question before we go to the into a break, I'll talk about Kitante lastly, the school administration. How supportive again was the school administration with the whole basketball concept?
Oh, they were super supportive. Because of the kind of success the school had, the school started attracting international players. Like we had some kids from Kenya come in, Justice came in from Tanzania. So ideally we were one of the most popular schools for boys in basketball. In East Africa, yes.
Yeah.
So when I was in my senior 4, I remember we struggled in our mocks. We went and had a chat told the deputy that we want to stay in school and read overnight.
Yeah.
As long as we made sure everything was okay, it was safe and secure. I was like, yes, for you guys, yes, I'll let you because I know you.
Yeah.
Like they knew us individually.
Yeah.
So they were very supportive in terms of helping us even perform better in our education.
Yeah.
That was a very huge plus for us.
Yeah.
Because, education was, people used to take it for granted a lot. Like they don't relate athletes with staying in school and completing school.
Yeah.
So they were very supportive, and I really liked that.
Yeah.
And not just to me, even the international students that came, they were really supportive for them in terms of finding them accommodation out of school, or even like having a foster parent, someone to accommodate them.
Wow.
So that is really, really good. So I'm really thankful to Kitante for that time until the administration changed. Then I think there became a gap in that connection.
Okay, we have come to the end of the first segment. To the viewers outside there, this is Mr. Albert Aciku, one of the greatest who has ever done it in the Uganda Basketball League. Stay tuned. I'll see you later on.